Alright guys, TacticalRab again today. Hope you're all doing well and enjoying your day so far. Ranked play in Modern Warfare 2 has been popping off the last few days to such an extent that the entire OpTic roster loaded up into rank last night to play some scrims against some random rank play kids and absolutely destroyed them. But also Shotzzy found himself on the right side of a nice little clutch against Clayster and Attach. Very much enjoyed your thoughts in the comments below. Hit the like button if you enjoy. Subscribe if you're new as always. Plenty to say today. So Parasite managed to make it all the way to #1 on the rank play leaderboard, of course. There's others chasing him down rapidly though at this point, as we shall see. Even Doug said, Tomato says, today I flipped the switch. Road to #1 ranked after scrims. You guys know that last year in Vanguard, Doug prided himself on being the #1 in ranked play. And yes, there are some problems with ranked. We'll dive into them in a few minutes time here, but the optimism around it and all the noise around it is definitely better than we've had for a very long time. And of course, fundamentally getting more SR when you win than lose means that you kind of just have to grind a lot and you'll eventually get to the top of the ladder if you're actually pretty good. And we've seen that with some of the pros that are at the top of the list, but also Doug sent Tomato records. He's going to try his best as well. And he says to Infinity, we'll get my picture and bio ready. I wanted to read 2 times national champion and jet ski enthusiast. We'll see about that one if he can make it up there. Just a note on Cap still as well. I thought this is kind of unfortunate of a Cap because he doesn't get a picture of himself here. And also he's still considered a substitute for the Mutineers on this list. So there's going to be some issues. There's going to be some problems. It's not going to be perfect. But I guess they'll try and keep them updated. And also just to note that, of course, Gravity is on this list here in this particular screenshot. And Gravity is for some reason appearing on the team pages as a player for the Vegas Legion, which is not the case and it's not reflected here. So indeed, that's not the case if you guys were still thinking about whether it was. Envoy as well that managed to get on the list. So many of these guys top 250. And I think this is one of the reasons why it's so exciting right now for a lot of the pros to play this, is that there is some degree of recognition but also friendly competition between the pros and each other, because they can go onto the leaderboard top 250, they can see where they are, they can see where the other pros are, they can say, oh my god, this guy's in like 5th place, I guess I better get on the grind. And we haven't really had that for the last few years. You could see leaderboards back in like World War II, I think was the best system we really had, at least you know, in the modern era, I guess, since Black Ops 2 of course back in the day, which wasn't really that good, but it was still much better than what we've had for the last several years, let's say. I think that World War II is pretty good. You had a real elo score in that game though, so like you would win 25 points if you won and lose like 24 if you lost. Maybe it was the other way around. So you really did have to keep winning to improve, and the top players are around about 3,000 elo score in that game. This game, a little bit different the way the SR works, but fundamentally it does mean that if you queue up with 4 pros, you're generally going to find another 4 queue of pros on a relatively regular basis, which is great to see. And also just, this is one random screenshot I saw from last night, but just comparing the Warzone numbers with what we've currently got in Modern Warfare 2 because of, in large, well basically in entirely part due to ranked play, right? Not only are the big name Call of Duty players playing it, but also other creators from either the Warzone side or elsewhere coming in to play ranked play and having a good time in general. There are some issues, hackers, and we'll dive into some of the problems in a second that Treyarch are probably going to try and resolve if they can. Funny, not even a Treyarch game, but still, of course, they've got the backpack on it to carry Infinity Ward to a decent ranked play mode. But all the pros are generally enjoying their time here, and it honestly means that every single day at this point, we've got some great, what is effectively 8 matches to play. It's created more content from the likes of Cellium and other pros, even Drazah, right? I mean, his first ever YouTube video he did on ranked play, #1 pro player in ranked, got to like 80,000+ views within a couple of days. Like, that's crazy stuff. And also his Twitch stream was hitting over 3,000 viewers for Drazah. Okay, he's a personality, but it's not like he's a massive presence on Twitch so far, but he's still hitting great numbers and making loads of progress. So great to see on that side. And even of course he got to #2, I believe, last night. And Dashy's in a similar boat, right? Dashy did a stream yesterday morning around about this time, I think, where it was like super early morning stream for him. Now, I don't know whether he'd actually slept or not, and we'll go on to discuss that here in a second. But he had like 11,000 people watching him play ranked on a random morning. So yeah, it shows that there's a lot of interest in watching people play ranked, and also the kind of buzz around competitive COD is very exciting at the moment. It does make me wonder what would happen if ranked was released earlier, because at the end of the day, if ranked was there right on launch, maybe there would be okay, that's better to a certain extent, but it's also worse to a degree that you can't get the proper updated maps, modes, guns, and all this type of stuff. And also on the guns, we'll discuss the Hemlock in a second, because some people have certainly been frustrated about that one. So to me, the ideal time to launch is pretty much just when the CDL starts. Let's say the game comes out in November, the CDL starts at the start of December, get ranked play out then and really capitalize on the momentum. That works well to me, but even doing it now has still got us, well, some pretty good return, and especially because Warzone, people aren't really so into it right now, and obviously multiplayer COD in general, just for regular public matches, is basically dead. So, you know, ranked play is the way to keep games alive, in my opinion, and that's just a special game. I know I mentioned that kind of idea before, that having a competitive element of the game is the way to actually maintain a game's longevity, which I do think is true in large part. If you've got a game like Fortnite or a game like Minecraft or something, like these are the exceptions to the rule. These are like the one-generation games that can survive and thrive without like a dedicated ranked mode. But outside of that, I think you kind of need it in order to maintain the longevity of a particular game. Now, speaking of Dashy doing this early morning stream, definitely the sleep schedules of some pros based on ranked play has been taking a bit of a hit. Now, I don't know if Panda's referring to Dashy, I don't know who he's referring to, but he says, wow, 2 scrims talked because salaries Call of Duty players are asleep at 3 p.m. What a day. Now, I don't know who he's obviously referring to here. We don't know which teams might be scrimming. Panda's team there in the challenger side, but I think it's pretty interesting, right, that, I mean, Dashy was up at, I think, 4:50 in the morning to do to play ranked play on stream. I don't know if he'd slept before and his sleep schedule was absolutely ultra chalked, or whether he hopped on for a few hours and then was going to go to bed well, basically when the sun came up, and then was sleeping through the afternoon. I don't know, but yeah, I just think there's an argument to be said where some of these players really need to get their sleep schedules in order sometimes, because having some consistency there, I think it's going to be very important to consistent play. And it was actually a big talking point last weekend that Drazah had, like, he was up playing ranked late in one night, and then he had a match the next day, in which he still actually fried in that said series. But Dashy was up late one night, and then they played their game against LAG, and he didn't have his greatest series. So does it mean anything? I don't know. But I do think maintaining some degree of consistency is probably valuable, and I think the ranked play has been so much fun for a lot of these players, and also, well, okay, there's been some issues with it, but generally it's been enjoyable to play and to watch and for them to stream, that it might be affecting other elements as well in terms of turning up the scrims on time. Now, obviously, I don't know if it's Dashy or anything like that, but he was just a notable player that was up at ridiculous o'clock playing ranked play on stream, so, you know, read into that what you guys will. And even Nadeshot comment on this, because, of course, Nadeshot's been a big proponent of ranked in Call of Duty for many years, and he says, I've been surprised by how many somewhat viral TikToks I've seen on my For You page related to ranked play on Modern Warfare 2. The interest behind it feels super different than years past. Exciting to watch it unfold after many years and many failed attempts, which is certainly true. And even we've got Scump on it last night. Scump had kind of first proper stream, I think, really, just because, okay, he's been doing some other streams, he's been doing the watch parties, but I think he's been saying for some time, oh yeah, guys, I'll do the proper content soon. And then he hops into ranked with Zinni last night. I always think Zinni's reaction is quite funny, because Zin turned on the stream, and then Scump turned the stream on, and then all of Zinni's chat, not all of his chat, of course, but a significant percentage of Zinni's chat, like, all right, goodbye, Zin, have a good evening, because, you know, he obviously knows whose stream they're going to go watch next. But OpTic decided the entire OpTic roster, and I don't really know if we've seen this so far, like an entire CDL team loading up together into ranked play, also shows the chemistry is good and all this, and they're, you know, happy to hop on together and do kind of fun stuff like this outside of scrims. You don't really see this too often from other teams, but they decided, you know what, let's get into ranked all together, Dashy, Ghosty, Huke, and Shotzzy, and try and take down whoever we come up against. I think this is one of the maps they played here on the other side. These poor guys, they got 26 points, which actually is more than I would have expected them to get, to be honest. And there was also this game I've got to share between Shotzzy and Clayster, when I think it was Clay and Attach on one team, and then it was Shotzzy and Skies on Shotzi's team, and it was a fortress control offense round 5, difficult to win at the best of times, and Shotzzy goes huge, knifes Clayster to help them win the round.
We can't die here. Get out of here. I'm looking at green stairs. I'm looking at boat. Yo, I'm gonna look single now. Every single.
Get, dead!
Get out of here. Yo, open copy. Open copy, we can attach.
I come, still alive. You still there?
He's open copy still, yeah. Nice, still. I'm going out right.
25 seconds, we're in. No one is even on B.
No, you got the pincher. Get out of here. Bait him out.
Wait, hold up.
Yo, back to the spot. No, attach one shot. He's backstage and one's double.
Hold on.
Got this shit. They're both there. Other guy there. To your right. Get on point. Just get on point. He's going close or something.
Yeah! Oh my god!
My bad.
Oh my
Go.
god! Holy f.
Yo, tell, you gotta roast him back.
So in general, just some pretty great content coming out of this the last few days. It's been exciting to witness, and hopefully, well, long may it continue to a certain extent, because it's been great for Twitch, great for Call of Duty in general, great to build up the personalities as well, right? You get a lot of people that see maybe their favorite creators, or they see, let's say they're, you know, real casual Call of Duty fan that watches some occasional YouTube videos. They might see exclusive ace do his video on the ranked play classes and talk about ranked and all this type of stuff. They might go to Twitch, stumble across some streamers, like, you know, it all helps the ecosystem when this type of stuff is happening. Now, some other screenshots screenshots. So this was the 250-26 game here where Ghosty had 24 and 8, Dashy was 19 and 4 with 2.5 minutes in the hard points. Like, I know that Paddy P was, as he usually does, talking a bit of trash when the opportunity is there on OpTic to let them get 26 points on you. He might have expected them to straight out shut these guys out, but at the end of the day, if you're playing ranked as a quartet, you're not necessarily going 100% maximum hard as you would do in a competitive game, and nonetheless, putting them to, well, in the 30-point club is still not too bad. This, though, was far more impressive, I thought. So this is a screenshot from, I'm guessing, Cellium's stream. Well, Cellium was certainly in this game. Now, he was on a team with Cellium, aBeZy, Proto, which is a name we haven't really heard for a while. He was actually briefly on the Seattle Surge, if you guys remember, back in the Modern Warfare season, but he's been around a few years. And then Collision, not too familiar with that name. And on the other side of the story, you've got Envoy from Los Angeles Thieves, Kismet from New York, Prolute, very recently of the Vegas Legion, and then Mohawk, one of the best challenger players in the game the last couple of years, gets 40 points clubbed on Hydroelectric. Like, this is what it is like to play against Cellium and aBeZy. I mean, it is absurd to have 4 effectively pro players, pro-level players on one side, and to have Proto, Collision, Cellium and aBeZy on the other side, and to get put in the 40-point club. Cell goes 32 in 10 and 150 in the hard points. I know that many people have watched the gameplay of Cell the last few days when he's been streaming. I think, damn, this guy, like, because we don't really get to see too much of Cellium. You watch him from his POV in the matches, but when you get to watch his POV from his own stream, you really get to understand, like, the positioning, the awareness and all this that goes into Cellium having a ridiculous kill streak. Actually, I think later today we'll look at his numbers over the last several events, and he's got the highest streak in Call of Duty history with event at a certain KD level we'll see later today. Now, I've got to mention some of the issues, right? As CDL Power points out, the ISO Hemlock is a bit frustrating. I did watch Exclusive Ace's video on it, and he said, you know what, I'll give you the classes for the Vaznev and the Scar, but, you know, I know that people want to use the ISO, so I'll give you classes for that as well, which is understandable, but it is one of those weapons that the pros won't use. They like the current meta. It's a weird weapon, the Hemlock, because it seems to me that if you change the attachment, you can have a weapon that's very good, kind of in closer range, or you can just turn it into a Krig from Cold War. So I know a lot of people are using it, and it's getting frustrating if you're trying to use the TAC and the Vaznev to come up against the Hemlocks all the time. So it probably will eventually be removed. Treyarch are pretty good at this stuff. They aligned the meta pretty well when Ranked Play launched with what the pros were using, but of course they didn't ban the Hemlock and all the DLC weapons, I guess because it was unknown whether the pros would or would not use it, but they're not going to use it. They never use this stuff unless the meta really desires a new weapon in play, and therefore the Hemlock's still being used. Maybe they get rid of it just like they've done to the M4, for example. It probably will happen at some point, but yeah, that's one frustrating point. The other thing that apparently is getting dealt with by Treyarch is the kick for inactivity. This, of course, happened to Cellium. We'll see that clip later today as well, but also others where, okay, you might hold a position, holding an angle, or just snaking a head glitch and get kicked after 30 seconds for staying in that spot too long. Now, of course, Treyarch have got to deal with this because, yes, you want to kick people for inactivity if they're standing AFK in spawn. Fair enough. But if you're actually trying to make progress on the map, or let's say you're just holding the, let's say you've planted the bomb and you're just going to a spot to watch the bomb from, and you're just going to stand there for 45 seconds, like, that's not a bad play. That's the play you potentially should be making. So, you know, especially if you're still moving around, like, okay, being in one area, maybe you shouldn't kick people for that. If someone's standing still in spawn, then yeah, you kick them for that. And maybe if they're standing in spawn just spinning in circles or something, then yeah, you also kick them for that. But I don't know, they've got to figure out a way to do this. Treyarch say they're investigating the issue and working towards a fix, so hopefully that's the case soon, because I know many people have been frustrated, but it does mean that you've got to keep moving, which I guess is a good thing in general for the way it generally plays. And just to mention before we close out here that OpTic do have a process episode. We were wondering how long it was going to take for them to get this out, and yeah, this Friday, passing of the torch is officially going to arrive. Very much enjoyed your thoughts in the comments below. Hit the like button if you enjoyed, subscribe if you're new, take care, and I'll see you next time.